Where's the time machine? Where is anything? Where?
Ever heard of Sea Block? It's a Factorio mode about turning an ocean into a factory by using traces of minerals in water. Void Block is a mod about turning absolutely nothing into a factory using, well, the void. The name of Void Block comes from the iconic Minecraft map Skyblock, where you also start with almost nothing and create a lot from it. I think it's generally one of the cooler map concepts in any sandbox game. Well, let's get right into it. You start out on a tiny island in the middle of an ocean of void. All you get is this void shed. It serves one purpose only. It summons random garbage from the void. Sometimes it makes iron, other times it makes wood, and sometimes a pile of disgusting slime that is completely useless and flammable. I use it to smelt the iron and copper to make another shed to summon more random garbage. With another shed, my production rate has now doubled. I immediately reinvest this economic boom into more sheds. Look at all of them go. And while they are free, dealing with random resources forever would cause me to lose my mind. Thankfully, after you summon 20 bricks, the mod takes pity on you and grants the Void Forge. It can summon all basic vanilla resources, but the Void is a monkey's paw. If you ask for iron ore, it gives you iron alongside some stone, iron plates and these useless purple Void crystals. Every, and I mean every, recipe in this mod produces some kind of trash byproduct, and for now we don't really have a way to deal with it. I set up a second forge for copper. This is the closest I can get to automation right now. Two forges in the middle make coal for each other while feeding the iron and copper forges on the outside. I have to hand feed it constantly and manually clear out the byproduct so it doesn't jam, but that's all I got going for me for now. So far you may have noticed a distinct lack of water that is not purple goo. The void comes to the rescue though, and lets me use the forge to summon water out of thin air. So I feed it to a boiler and place my first laboratory. This mod adds 3 new void themed science packs. The first one takes wood and those void crystals I've been stockpiling. While the base is working nice, I am completely out of space. To remedy this, I used void science to research void fill. This is the most important technology in the game because it allows me to increase my island size. I can now summon landfill with a side product of stone and foundations. The catch is that it takes 40 agonizing seconds to summon a single square of dirt. Well, I have nothing but time. Resources are free. Going by that simple logic, that means power is free also. It just requires me to place more boilers and more forges to summon void fuel. The problem is that boilers require physical space and space requires landfill. So I wait. Just look at all this. Absolutely free, assuming you value my time at $0 an hour. As I stand there taking the base in its entirety, I quickly realize the landfill production is far too slow for any meaningful growth. I need way more of it. So I begin tearing up the base to make space for more landfill forges. Having made some landfill, I quickly rebuilt some basic resource production and slapped down a simple steam engine setup to power my forges, which can now use electricity instead of coal. With enough ground to stand on, it's finally time to make progress. Red Science Automation. I have over 1,000 hours in Factorio, so you'd assume I know the recipe by heart. Well, I thought so myself, so naturally I proceed to forget that Red Science requires gears, not just iron plates. I apply the standard fix, immediate spaghetti. It works. As they say, you can build anything in Factorio as long as you call it a starter base, and this is officially my starter base from now on. Constantly babysitting the forges to make whatever I need by swapping the recipes is getting tedious. I need a mall. I researched the void sorters and void bolts. This allows me to just summon them in the forges. But the void apparently doesn't know how to assemble them properly. Sometime, trying to summon an inserter, it vomits out spare gears and green circuits. Summoning a belt tends to spit out gears and iron plates. It's an easy fix though. I just loop the garbage back into the initial recipes to keep it running. You can summon pretty much anything in this mod. You can even summon the void science itself for absolutely free. It takes much longer than crafting it, but I am a fundamentally lazy person. This produces a massive amount of stone and wood waste, but I turn that waste into more science and more landfill. Making the most out of waste byproducts becoming a theme of this mod apparently. The next thing on the progression line is green science. It's trivial because I can just summon the belts and inserters out of the void. So far the only actual challenge in this mod is waste management, so I'm curious on how this develops. I finished the build and researched every single red and green technology available. After researching stuff, I realized that my simple mole is not up to standards anymore. I need a better solution, so I designed a multi-mole. I set a constant combinator to request an item. If I have enough, it disables the forge that is responsible for said item. This mole uses a new, faster recipe type that requires void flags, which I just happened to unlock. You get void flags by reverse void crafting. You take an item and you obliterate it into liquid flags. I use this to turn all of my byproduct trash into flags, which then feeds the machines to make the items I actually want. The loop slowly loses flags over time, so I have a dedicated forge summoning fresh flags on the side, controlled by the pump to ensure the recycled trash is always consumed first. This build carried me through the entire game, and if you choose to give this mod a try after my video, I recommend building a similar build for yourself. While looking at my base, I realized that I hate this science build, so I tore it down. I built another boiler stack and extend the void fuel line. If I forget to expand power, I will enter a death spiral that forges will lose power, they will make less fuel, and so the boilers will make less power, and etc, etc. Next, I rebuilt red science, this time with actual math for the ratios instead of guessing, but the garbage remains a problem. I devised a highly technical, centuries-old waste management solution. I put all the mixed byproducts onto a sushi belt, then I reverse void crafted them into flags, and I used the flags to make some more red science ingredients and put them on a priority belt. Next, I rip up the old mole and build a new green science line in its place. All the byproducts get made into flags, just like in red science. Then I turn out the flags into landfill, and I shove the landfill into a wooden box. Behold, the trash box. Do not question it, it will handle everything. I set up my research zone. I hook up the science, queue up a massive list of technologies, and build the lazy void science setup. You've guessed it, the trash goes into the box. Eventually, I research runes. Runes are modules, but for the forges. They increase speed and reduce power use. Because I am tired of manually building boiler stacks to prevent a grid collapse, so I immediately start working on a rune factory. Runes require void shards, which require steam and carbon. To make steam I need to summon water, which is easily done with the void forge. The next step are rune stones, which just take more carbon, so I make a carbon line below the rune build and hook it up to the rune stones along with the shards. Then things get annoying. We have to make void gems. The gems take 5 shards, but they have a 50% chance to just fail and spit the shards back at you. If you can spot the issue of this build, then well, you are clearly smarter than me. I send the carbon trash to another landfill box. I hook up the runestones, the void gems, and some flax to make the final runes. I also finally get a good shot of a build starting up. I really should do this more often instead of running around like a maniac all the time. Maybe my power issues will soon be alleviated with the help from the rune modules. This is one of the only true multi-step production chains in the mod, and it turns out to be incredibly slow. But while slow, it is completely passive. I need 600 modules and it makes 0.2 per second, therefore I will return in an hour. The next thing on my to-do list is blue science. Blue science requires red circuits. You cannot summon red circuits directly from the void. You summon voidtronic circuits instead. You then put the voidtronic circuit into an assembler and it decrafts into the circuit you want, plus a mountain of some vaguely circuit related garbage. This time I try not to rely on the trash box. I turn the byproducts into flags and use the flags to make more circuits. It also occasionally makes blue circuits, which I throw into yet another trash box and ignore. They will turn out to be useful later on in the game when making exoskeletons and other equipment. Next are engines. Same process. Summon a void engine, decraft it, receive an engine and a pile of trash. I proceed to slap down the blue science assemblers. I make way too few of them, but I am getting lazy at this point. If you can spot the issue with this build, then congratulations, I did not. I go to check on my RAM production, expecting a bounty of modules. Instead I find a deadlocked belt. The void gems had jumped the belts. While fixing that, my engine production fails also. My way of recycling the engine trash wasn't robust enough. The belts have clogged with trash. I fit some extra waste processing and hope that this time I did it correctly. It's really easy to forget to deal with something in this mod with the amount of byproducts every recipe has. And with the blue science working, I go on a quick research spree. Having fixed the blue science, I noticed that the void gem build is failing again, but it made enough modules to save my power grid before it died. So I rip it up and fix it properly this time. I also extend my multi-mold to include some new recipes I unlocked. This build was really invaluable during my playthrough, and surprisingly I only had to fix one minor issue with it. Aside from that, I pretty much nailed it, which isn't too common for me. I then paved the entire base in concrete. I should have done this 20 hours ago. This would have saved me a lot of time running around the base fixing stuff. And in this clip you can see me summoning some uranium, so I can pass the uranium processing tech check added by Space Age. Blue science that I just made unlocks Prismite. Until now, Prismite was just an annoying rock that occasionally clogged my stone lines. Now I got the technology to process it. I have to admit that the Prismite plate texture looks really pretty, and the name Prismite clearly fits it. I turned the Prismite into Prism Gems. They cost 20 Prismite each, and I need them for better forges. Remember those blue circuits I put into some trash box earlier? I used them to make a personal roboport, and just like that the rocket silo is researched. I am in the end game. I handcraft enough tier 2 void science to unlock the lazy summoning recipe for it. It takes 300 seconds to summon one pack, but as long as it summons any, I'm up for it. This science recipe introduces a new mechanic, coherence infusion. You turn pretty much any item into a fluid, feed it to a forge, and it stops producing byproducts entirely, at the cost of doubling the craft time. I ignore this mechanic almost entirely, because the box is clearly superior to this. The new mechanic comes in handy when dealing with the prismite byproduct of this science summoning. I just smelt the prismite, turn it into the coherence infusion fluid, and make some more science with it, effectively managing the waste. Finally, it's my robots building another boiler stack, not me by hand. It's nice, but more boilers are not gonna cut it. I need more power. I need a nuclear reactor. But automating the components for a reactor means dealing with another massive web of void trash and byproduct loops. I am fundamentally opposed to doing manual labor if I can engineer a machine to do it for me. So, to avoid spending 20 minutes placing assemblers and belts for the reactor, I spent 3 hours learning the intricacies of circuit networks designing a solution. I call this creation the ASD. It is fully parameterized, accommodating almost any recipe that has a void flux variant. You request an item, it summons it, it turns the garbage into flux, and then using a circuit condition, it disables the recipe, deleting any flux from the machine's internal buffer. It basically destroys matter, if you can't void as matter. It pretty much violates the laws of thermodynamics, so I don't have to deal with the waste. I use the ASD to print all of my nuclear reactor components. While staring at it working its magic, I research Voidcraft rocket parts, Orichalcum, and fix yet another issue with the Void Gems build. I proceed to shamelessly steal a reactor blueprint from the internet and make some uranium processing to support it. It's really simple in this mod because the Void provides infinite uranium. I don't even need Covarex since the base is so small there isn't much excess to deal with anyway. I just hook up some water, shove the waste in a trash box and walk away. I then tear down the reactor making build since it serves its purpose. The ASD is honestly my favorite build of this whole playthrough, though it kind of seems like it's cheating the mod's main gimmick. I set up a max volume siren to scream at me if the fuel runs low. I put the first fuel batch in the reactor and watch it start up. The fuel cells require iron, but it's nothing the ASD cannot fix. With that, power is solved for the foreseeable future. The first thing I do with my new energy supply is finally automating the tier 2 void forges, something I should have done hours ago. I'm pretty much beginning the final push now. I set up the rocket fuel production. It's really simple since it just required the void fuel, which is essentially free. and some prismite which I already got set up elsewhere. Next on the line are the blue circuits. They follow the same line as the red circuits earlier, being made with the use of voidtronic circuits. It's a pretty cool process, but trivialized with the use of void flex and the mighty trash box. I try to waste as little resources as possible, so I repurpose the green and red circuit byproducts to make a little bit more blue circuits, but I should really just trash them, since at the end of the run the bonus assembler managed only 2 crafts. The next tick on the list are low density structures, but they can be summoned straight from the void without any issue. Well, can't launch a rocket without a silo, so I make one real quick and place it down right next to my labs. I realize I need a space platform starter pack, which costs exactly 1000 steel, so I slam down a temporary steel summoning array. Soon the platform is ready and the rocket is fueled. And we have liftoff, ladies and gentlemen. The void has been conquered. Void block is a fascinating gimmick. It turns every recipe into a localized waste management puzzle. It does get a little repetitive towards the end, and I think it could use a few more unique production chains like the runestones and prismite, rather than just summon item, delete trash. But it does force you to completely rewire your Factorio brain. There's also a third void science pack, one that I decided not to include in this base since it was not necessary to launch a rocket, and most of the tech it unlocks is related to space age content. If this video ever gets a part 2, we might bring space age recyclers into the void to deal with the trash instead of my trash boxes, but until then the factory has grown enough. In any case, if you somehow got to the end of this video, thank you for watching and I hope to speak to you again in part 2 of Void Block, or maybe some other Factorio mod that catches my attention.